Um, I don't know if you heard that Jesse Ventura is possibly. What do you think about that? Yeah. What do you think about him running for the presidency as a Green Party member?
Well, Jesse Ventura is a very great advocate for our imperialism, against our imperialism.
Right.
And this thing is half of our problems in this country. It is half of our problems. Foreign policy, international law. We're killing people, and we are violating our constitution. Frankly,
right.
Did you know that any violation for international law is considered a high crime according to our constitution?
I didn't know it was in our constitution, but I knew
it's called high crime.
Gotcha.
And nobody's talking about it. So Jesse Ventura is good on foreign policy. I'm not really aware of his economic policy. I am not aware. I would think that his social justice advocacy is the same as the Greens. And I think he cares about healthy environment, healthy planet. So that would be really great for the Greens, and someone who has this publicity definitely would change the game. I saw a poll between Ventura, Biden, and Trump, and that one Ventura got 18% of the vote.
Wow!
And that could change. That's really optimistic.
Yeah. When I saw that, what about Howie Hawkins?
Well, Howie Hawkins illustrated a poor understanding in foreign policy. Maybe he's good on a lot of other issues, especially the eco-socialism that he's talking about, which is the economic system and the ecology system altogether. He's good. He's a good writer, but he has a poor understanding on foreign policy, which is very sensitive.
Sure.
Foreign policy, you make one mistake, maybe thousands would die. One mistake, and he's done some he issued some statements that illustrate that he's not really good.
Not his cup of tea kind of thing?
No.
Gotcha. Scary how many presidents or people who run for president has poor foreign policy perspective.
Well, that's if you want to see it, that's all of them, all the way back to 40 years ago.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And that, fair. I mean, 40 years ago, let's see, that would be
Reagan.
Oh, wow. Man, I'm feeling older now all of a sudden. Yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't even say that Reagan had that great of a foreign policy. So before, yeah.
Well, Carter was before Reagan, right?
The Contra Wars?
No, Carter. Jimmy.
Oh, Carter. Sorry. Yes. Yeah.
He was before.
He was before. Yes.
So since Carter then.
Okay. So yeah. So he got out, or he lost the 1980 candidacy. So, do you have a favorite for presidents? I know we're supposed to be talking about your candidacy. I'm sorry. I just want to keep it.
Well, that's a hard question because I know my favorite now, just for now, is Ventura, but I didn't know about him a lot. I only know about his foreign policy, and you cannot judge someone only from one issue. Sure. Although the president controls 90% of foreign policy, this is an issue. Right. And the Congress doesn't control a lot of it. Contrary to the other issues, well, the healthcare and all of these issues, comes mainly from the Congress, and the president only have little to say about them. Sometimes he has a lot of power and influence, but legally wise, the Congress has the most power on a lot of other issues. But for foreign policy, the president holds about 90% of the power, the influence. So if you look at the president only from the lenses of foreign policy, you're not wrong, because it's the major issue, the most influential issue there. So maybe the body would do it, and at least grow the party and grow the issue of foreign policy.
That would be crazy. So, since name recognition is a huge thing when running for any place of office, I mean, I like your philosophy. I like the issues that I read on your website. I don't remember reading any of them that I was like, well, I'm not really with that. All of them seem to sit. The problem is name recognition, right? Like, this is kind of the game that we've created for our politics. So in the unlikely or unfortunate event that you lose this run, would you run again, maybe for a smaller seat or a smaller position in government, or would you run for Senate again when Wyden's seat? I'm assuming Wyden would be the next one that seat would come up.
Well, when I thought about running, I was thinking about the Congress in my district, which is Peter DeFazio or Merkley. And I made my decision because Merkley is well established and well loved. And when you go try to try to find something about him, you couldn't find anything. But unlike Peter DeFazio, you'll find a lot of other things that are negative about him. And when you think about it, what does it mean that someone who has a lot of negative things, a lot of them involve constitutional violations, ethical violations, but the media doesn't talk about it? What does that mean? It means that he get to do whatever he wants and nobody would question him, and that's dangerous. And unless someone goes out there and talk to people about him, expose him, nobody would know. This thing made my mind about where to run. So I ran against Merkley because of him exclusively. And I don't know about the future. I'm sure that I'm going to be involved in politics. I'm going to try to make change. And I don't know. I don't think Merkley would win this time.
Yeah? Awesome.
No. Probably the Republican guy would win. Because I haven't talked about Merkley really. His policy. I'm kind of saving it for after the conventions and the results of the primary. That would change the game.
Okay.
And hopefully it would change it for something good.
Now, Merkley is the only one running for Democratic seat, right? Like for
nobody would like to challenge him because they know the results. Yeah.
Okay. So you don't know about the future, and then I guess that's what brings me back, talking about name recognition and so on and so forth. What do you think about public financing campaigns, like getting, maybe part of the tax income to go to financing people who want to run for position instead of it being reliant on donors and raising money? Does that make sense?
Well, can you read that question again? It was cutting.
Oh, sorry. Public financing elections.
Yeah, sure. I think it's on my platform. I don't know if I've mentioned it explicitly or not. Public funding, actually, there's a bill. It's called HR1 now.
I think I've heard
on the floor. And it proposes something that given every constituent a gift card with maybe $20 worth of donation, and they can use it for different candidates. It is very good because it eliminates these unbalanced donation powers. Let me explain it here. 78% of the people live from a paycheck to a paycheck. 50% of them cannot afford $500 in case of emergency.
Right.
From all these people, how many would you think that they're going to be able to contribute to a candidate, make a donation?
Not very many at all.
And who would be able to contribute?
Right, not very many. So you're only...
No, I mean in general, who would be able to contribute? The top 30% of the people.
Oh, right.
Who have maybe different ideologies from them. They don't suffer like the bottom 50% of the people who are involved in the big clubs.
Right. So they get to pick the power.
So money is more important than voting in the election, because just like me, I'm a good example here. I have the strongest policies between my opponents from the Democrats and Republicans. I have some traits that they don't have. Everyone would like what I'm saying, contrary to both of them. But at the end, how many people would know about me here in Oregon?
Right.
And comparing to them, everyone knows about them. Why? Because I don't have money to advertise.
Right.
I don't have money to get the media interested in covering me every week, but they have. So this is why money is maybe more important than vote. And this is why public funding would eliminate this thing. A lot of independents would be able to run and maybe win just by eliminating this one,
right?
This obstacle, the money.
So then, you mentioned a little earlier that you think that the Republican would beat out Merkley this election. Do you have a stronger basis for that? Do you feel it's a trend?
Well, usually the race between Republicans and Democrats is very close in Oregon. So if the Democrats would get 1 million votes, Republicans would get 800 votes, something like this, maybe 700 votes. So it's pretty close. And I think because of my candidacy, a lot of votes would not go to Merkley. And maybe a lot of them would not go to, some of them would not go to the Republican guy. That would affect Merkley the most, I think. This is why maybe it would be Romero, especially now because of the what is happening with the corona response. A lot of information coming out. A lot of responses now are being evaluated differently, and it might be the Republicans who would win this game that they are playing right now.
Right.
It's always games. So now they're playing. They have some game with the coronavirus. So I think the Republicans would win this time.
Interesting. Let's hope we're not right on that.
No, there are like a lot of different information coming out, and they would vote. They would win the independent vote, even from the left.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, we can talk about the situation for a few hours later, maybe
Right.
privately or something. Yeah.
Well, I know your time is starting to run out, so I don't want to kind of rush out. Just what do you feel strong in this election? Do you feel like you have a great opportunity to overcome, or do you think this might be the kind of like what we said earlier, a little just get your name out there kind of thing?
Well, I can't tell because in Oregon, usually the media talks about minor parties and get a lot of spaces, maybe free time online. We have some laws like this. Usually that happened after the convention, the nomination convention. And usually after the nomination convention, people start paying attention more to the Green Party. So we are used to be late on publicity, and this is one of the things that I wanted to change this time. So I cannot tell now if my chances would be maybe higher than the previous years or not. Well, definitely I'm bringing something new, and I hope that would make some change. I don't know, maybe if we can talk to each other maybe in 2 months, maybe I would have some aspect there.
That would be awesome. I would love to hear how things have changed in the next couple months for you. I think, like I said, I read your philosophies, I read your policies. I personally feel from what I've, even the exit polls for the presidency, the people are behind them, right? The people are behind the policies that you want to try to push. It seems that, as you were saying, media and money in the politics to get the advertising out is swaying people to vote against their own interests.
Isn't it sad?
It's very sad
to see that.
It's very sad. Which is why I personally think my number one policy or drive is to get money out of politics. You've definitely opened my eyes to more of a foreign policy being as important in that aspect too. So I would love if you have the time in a couple months. I would love to see and talk to you again and see how.
Well, let me give you some bad news about money in politics, since you are interested in it, and this is one of the things that a lot of is not talked about. Let's forget about the mainstream politicians. It's not talked about even between the reformers, activisms, groups or something like this. We have some laws that limit how many each PAC can contribute to the candidate. Do you know how much?
I used to know
5,000.
I was going to say 2,500.
So each PAC, no matter who is funding this PAC, is it whether it's corporation, or just like a church or advocacy group, 5,000 for each candidate. But how many PACs can I get money from as a candidate? Do you know?
I do not.
Unlimited.
Well, there you go.
How many PACs do we have right now?
I couldn't even bear to count.
4,600. What does it take to form a PAC?
Probably nothing.
2 people with money.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And there's something which is the most scary one. PACs can contribute to other PACs. They donate. They call them donation, which means they can move money between them.
Right.
One PAC, again, this question. One PAC can contribute money to other PAC? How much money can they shovel and circulate between them? Just one PAC. Do you know?
Between each other?
Yeah, so one PAC decided to move money and try to influence the election. How much they can spend?
Probably unlimited, couldn't they?
200 million right now. This is one of them. And but don't worry about it. We have laws to organize this.
Yeah, I'm not. That's scary. Well, then, so I guess the best course of action is we keep it from PACs being able to contribute, right? Just period.
I don't know. Have you seen my my campaign finance reform plan?
I did not.
Oh, you should read it.
Okay. I will overlook that, definitely.
And let me give you something. Another good news. We have something they call them lobbying firms. So now you have a car accident and you need a lawyer. What do? You go to a firm of lawyers, right?
Right.
But now we have an issue and you want some politician to pass a law that benefits that issue. What do? You go to a firm, you hire them to lobby for you. How many lobbying firms we have? 200 in DC. Have you heard anyone talking about them?
Not very many. Like I say, there's a couple things that I've looked into that have talked about the lobbying and the PACs and stuff like that. But yeah, you're right. There isn't very much attention to that. And that both, like you said, both parties are just, they're just as bad as the other one. And they're taking just as much money from each of the corporations and the PACs and stuff like that. So it's disheartening.
But to be fair, the Dems take less money from corporations.
Probably not very many.
Maybe that, like Republicans, 100%. Democrats, maybe 9%.
Yeah. Progress, right? Progress.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for giving the time. I don't want to keep you up. I know you got a meeting after this, and
in half an hour.
Yeah. I only planned in for an hour. If you want to talk about some more policies, I'll keep you on.
Well, there's an issue that is very dear to me, which is the homelessness issue. I looked at it differently. I started looking at it as a historic event, a phenomenon, and when it started and why. And a lot of these questions that I was asking myself when I was researching it, actually, just like a research subject for me. I found it related a lot to the social structure. So we have a structure in the society, social structure, which is the relationships between families, friends. A lot of the homelessness issue stems from that source, the type of relation. And when we look at the major impacts, why it shifted, what happened, we look at the value system that has changed. We talked about it maybe at the beginning. And this value system has started to change maybe the 1970s. From the 1970s, a lot has changed. And a lot of advocacy groups, they talk about homelessness. They only talk about high rents, they talk about wages, which are very true, like direct causes for the homelessness. But here's a thing to think about. Why the richest country in the world have trouble with an issue like homelessness, but a lot of other places, other countries, that they are struggling to get maybe jobs, food. This is the normal for them. They don't have homeless.
Right.
This is a thing to think about, and then from there you can analyze the social structure, and then look at I don't know how to frame it other than this. Ask yourself, do we have a healthy society?
I'd say we have a very sick society, actually.
Which talks about the cultural aspect of this society. Do we have healthy culture, and why? It is very complicated subject, and we cannot solve it actually by policy within a very short period of time, because when something is related to culture, how do you change it?
Right. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, sticking along with culture of this country, and as you said, we've had a shift, right? Like in a lot of different kind of cultures. One of the main shifts that I've seen in the last probably 10 years of the LGBTQ plus culture. I'm sorry, it's a little bit off on
that was 2014 when the Supreme Court ruled that the same-sex marriage is legal now.
Right.
Countrywide.
How do you feel on that culture shift, and what have you been able to do to try, if you support, I'm assuming you support the LGBTQ culture, have you done to help get votes from that part of that culture? Sorry.
Well, I haven't tried specifically from the LGBTQ, and as a philosopher and a logician, actually, I don't know why people they call them LGBTQ, because every one of them is different. So why do you have one group for all of them, or all of these type of relations? Because everyone has different aspects, and every one of them needs to be looked at differently. And a lot of these aspects has not gained a lot of research in terms of social relations, utilitarian aspect of it should be considered or not. Do we have a value system to reflect these issues on them or not? So, as a philosophy-wise, I don't know a lot of questions. But legally, the Constitution is very clear. It doesn't matter what sex you have, what kind of relation you want. You should be respected. Nobody can discriminate against you. And if any sort of law or ordinance goes against it, all of us should be against it, because it is our Constitution. So this is as far as I can tell you about the LGBTQ. And I don't like to bring the discussion as it is something that still we need to talk about it. We should revisit the idea. I think a lot of laws has taken place now, which is good laws. Revisiting the ideas need a reason, and I don't know what's the reason to revisiting these ideas.
So on a personal level, before the Constitution, I have no idea on your background on this. Would you support gay marriage then?
Well, this is the issue here. You repeated the same thing. I didn't know of the marriage itself. So what this marriage, when you talk about LGBTQ, all of them, some of them. So all of these needs to be studied. But so far, I don't know if there's any contradiction would happen from legalizing this the marriage. So I'm fine with it.
Okay.
And advocating for some sort of liberty here. Because if you don't have any reason to reject it, then what's the problem? And this is an issue we can see it from the Republican side. The value system of most of the Republicans comes from religion, and the Constitution made it clear that it is not about religion. We separate the religion institution from the political one. So a lot of these laws that are being proposed or maybe rejected or opposed, if we don't have bases that everyone can agree with us on the basis that we are trying to advance, we cannot use our ideology to advance it and advocate for it. So this is a problem. When you ask me about anything, I must have reason why do I support it or not, and this reason cannot be my ideology.
Okay. Got that. All right. Let me see if I have a question for you. Coming from the chat. There's a lot of chat. Did you pull anything out?
There has never been a Green Party member in Congress.
I think you kind of answered that, but I'll bring it up. There has never been a Green Party member elected into Congress. So obviously, and we kind of discussed it earlier that the chances of that. So actually, I want to kind of maybe add to that. Let's say that when you run through this, and let's say later that you might run again. Let's say you don't win this election. Would you consider, even keeping with your policies, going as a Democrat or a Republican, which I couldn't see, but would you switch? No? Okay.
An independent, yes. But these parties, no. There's something I would like to touch on here.
Okay.
When you join, there's two separate things, two separate impacts when you join one of these parties. One of them is on you, that we discussed earlier.
Right.
And the other thing is on the let's say the impact of the public opinion that would happen because of you.
Right. Okay.
It is complicated. Let me give you an example. Of course, you've heard about the idea of sheepdogs in politics.
Right.
Can you apply it for someone who proposed some good policies, and then just one guy changed the affiliation, and because of that, a lot of people has followed him and elected other leaders, other politicians because of that guy, and then a change has happened.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
It is complicated. I thought about it really like over and over and over and over again. Whether where can I do my where I can influence the best. I thought about it. 2012, I was like telling people to vote for Obama. I didn't know better.
Right.
So I was there. It's Oregon. Anyhow, we must think about what it means for the public to see someone who has these values, principles, to join the party that he wants to he's trying to stop it from advancing, stop this corruption. What does it mean? So if you see someone running for the Democrats and opposing everything that the Democrats are saying, and the same thing with the Republicans, ask him how many people, because of you, voted for your colleague, the senator, the congressman, maybe the president, because they love you.
Well, I think
that would be a guilt on me.
Right. And I also think that, that's kind of what, I mean, if you look at it from the Bernie Sanders position, where he's an independent, runs under the Democrats still shifted on him harder than anybody. And a lot of it was to point out that he wasn't a true Democrat. So I can see your point in that. Keep hitting my wires. Sorry. How come you did choose the Green Party over being an independent?
Well, now, so the Green Party is very weak, and they have been there for maybe 30 years or something. Can you imagine someone who is there and been organized and has name reputation, name recognition for 30 years? And still not gonna make it.
Right.
Can you imagine someone independent with no maybe resources or very limited resources to be able to make it without it?
Fair enough.
So, yeah.
Easier said. Okay.
And plus, they have a lot of issues that I agree on.
Right.
A lot.
Yeah, I mean, I've read into theirs as well. I mean, especially when Jill Stein ran in the 2016 presidency. Is she even attempting to talk about Green Party run this time?
No.
Okay. I hadn't even looked, to be honest. I just thought about
it. I'm not engaged with the national, what is happening on the national level of the party.
Gotcha.
Not very involved. That's why I don't know about what is happening there.
Gotcha. How about the 2016 election? Who did you vote for? And that?
Well, I was sick at that time. No, I was like physically sick, and I didn't vote.
Gotcha. Oh, actually, I read about in your about. Weren't you in Kuwait at that time, or is it not? Or no, you were in the States, but you came back to Oregon.
I was. That was 2015. I got my degree from there. Well, Kuwait. I lived in Kuwait for about 10 years or something. My mom lives there, and before high school, I went there, and I discovered that they can get you in college and give you your degrees for free. And this is what I did. So I was there doing my master's degree, and then I came back 2015.
Gotcha. And that's when you. I'm sorry, I was briefly reading everything as far as I could get prepared in this last week. And if I remember right, you came back to the States, and right before you moved to Oregon, I can't remember where were you?
I was in Minnesota. Well, I'm Oregonian. I'm a native Eugenian from Eugene, Oregon. I moved a lot. As a kid, I moved to north up to Tigard, Beaverton area, Portland area there. Then I moved to overseas with my mom. Then I lived in Minnesota for a while. I need to be there for Mayo Clinic. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's one of the best medical institution in the whole world, actually. So I need to be there for 2 years. I had some serious issue.
Gotcha. I guess one last thing. Are you familiar with Paige Kreisman? If I said that name right. It's from the chat. No? Paige Kreisman?
I know there's like someone who's running in Oregon. Her name is Paige. And that's all I know about her.
I'm sorry, the first what?
The first trans.
She's the first transgender.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, no, it's not the first. Because we had our own, but the media doesn't talk about it. In the Green Party, we had Emma Logo. She ran against Merkley, I think, 2014, and against Schrader, 2016, I think. But nobody's talking about it.
Right.
Yeah. I knew it.
All right. Well, I only prepped for the hour, so is there anything else you would like to roll out with?
Well, that's it, and probably I need to prepare for the next meeting too. Yep.
And again, if you if I would love to interview you again in a couple months after you're a little bit closer to the
sure.
General election. That'd be awesome. Thank you so much for doing this.
No, thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure. And I look forward to seeing you in a couple months.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.